All right, here we go. Welcome to Funkit Podcast episode zero-ish, one-ish. I'm not sure. And obviously, the plan was completely different. The plan was studio setup, guests, discussions, COVID. Okay, but we can't just wait for COVID to go away and get back to normal. So let's start things anyways. The setup is here. After a week of trying to figure out how to make it work, it actually works. Recording on different channels right now with a mixer and everything feeling very professional. So let's kick things off. There's going to be an interview on the channel rather soon. That was the last live interview that I was able to do, and I haven't put it on my former channel. Decided to keep it for here because I thought there would be more of this. But now, thanks to COVID, all things digital, everything online. There will be interviews. There will be me talking, and talking it is, right? So let's start right away with talking, and I'll try to stick to the schedule here. So this is the media podcast now, media related entry post, so to speak. And if you look at the media, there's one thing that's dominating the news in this past week, the past few days. And that was obviously, I didn't want to make a podcast on him, but Donald Trump, right? Obviously banned from Twitter for life, indefinitely from Facebook, and many other platforms, like Pinterest banned him. What I said about this. Spotify banned him. TikTok, basically every platform. Pornhub tweeted they also banned him. I don't know if it was a fake or if it was real. Could imagine it was real because Pornhub has like this rather funny marketing team, so could have been real. Nevertheless, so Trump being banned from social media, right? Good or bad? Usually, to be quite fair, I think I'm probably more of a left-leaning person, liberal. At least I thought so until I turned 35 or so, and then I realized maybe I do have some conservative values. Nevertheless, I would still think I'm more left. And lots of my friends celebrate in their timelines, right? Like, yeah, he's gone, everything's gonna be okay. Lots of my contemporaries in academics, media research, and so on, they were celebrating that he's gone. And while I do kind of like just the idea of like banning him and just thinking about how furious he must be that he's banned from Twitter, which is kind of funny and makes me kind of happy, I thought, I'm not sure if it's a good idea to actually ban him from just a media research point of view, like communications point of view. Because what message is this sending? It sends a message that Facebook, Twitter, and so on just can decide who's on there. And of course they can, because those are private companies, it's their rules, and no one has the God-given right to be there. It's not a human right, and it doesn't need to be a human right. And until 2006 or whatever, we didn't even have that. So whatever, right. And I'm not arguing this. That's completely true, and I completely agree with this. But now just pushing him off those platforms, right? Will this have the right effect? It's like you censor someone, and then do you think his followers will stop listening to him? Or will they become more extreme and go to more extreme actions, turn to more extreme solutions, so to speak? And then also continuing that thought, I read that App Store, Google Play, and so on, Amazon, they also deleted Parler from their services, which is the free, open-minded, whatever, social media, right? Same thought. Yeah, you can delete it, but do you think this will keep the followers from following? It's the question. And the answer, I believe, is not straightforward, right? It's several-fold. One hand, yes, it's harder to find him now, right? It happened with Alex Jones, for example, right? Spotify banned him and so on, so it's gone from YouTube too, I believe. I should check that. But it's harder to find him, right? Yes, that's true. And Joe Rogan didn't have him on in forever. And then when he had him on, they didn't really try to go into the deep end, but doesn't matter. Back to the thought. Yes, so it's harder to find them now, to find the crazy people, if you want to call them like this. I'm not a fan of calling them this, but it's harder to find them. So maybe if there are a few decided people out there, people that haven't made up their mind yet, and they would have heard it like, yeah, let's follow him. Okay, yes, that's not happening anymore. But if you're a hardcore follower and you see that Twitter bans your guy, are you going to say, okay, I'm not listening to him anymore? Or are you going to say, F Twitter, what the, that's the proof, it's the liberal censorship, those snowflakes. Now we're going to go even harder in the paint. Yeah, and I read an article just now, armed protests planned for next week. Land of the free, what's happening, right? Land of the free. What's happening? So is this kind of censorship? Is it censorship? What happens there? Does it make sense? Or wouldn't it make more sense to leave him on the platform and just debunk him? And what Facebook and Twitter started doing. And of course, again, I can understand it. There are like extreme opinions on each side. One side is like, no, freedom of speech, blah, blah. The other side is like, he incites violence, so we have to do something. Right. Understood. Right. But if you say you have to do something, now Trump isn't on there anymore. His son is still on there. His staff is on there. Right. So then don't you think that people who follow Trump will just follow those people and then they just speak for him? Trump fan clubs, yeah, Trump supporters, whatever. You can't ban everybody, can you? Will you ban everybody that mentions Trump? Will you try to analyze, oh, they mentioned Trump in a positive way, in a negative way, let's just ban them, let's just hide that tweet, that Facebook update or whatever? Or wouldn't it make more sense to just highlight when they are wrong? Would be then a different discussion again, like who decides what's right or wrong. But maybe via this fact checking what Twitter and Facebook did, right? So I'm just brainstorming with you right now. So wouldn't it make more sense rather than just banning him? Because again, censorship. Right now we're all happy. We're like, yeah, haha, Trump, haha, right? You're not on there anymore. But what if that's not the only guy that happens to, right? Trump, we're happy about. Alex Jones, we laugh at, right? But what if it's going to be you or me then in the future? I hope neither of us is inciting violence, obviously, but maybe inciting violence is not the only reason to be banned. Maybe just saying something controversial, right? Could also like then be molded into fitting, violating the guidelines of Twitter or Facebook or whatnot. Like, who's to say that this is not going to change? And the beauty of the internet used to be that you can have all the crazy ideas, like QAnon out there, for example, and people are debunking it. But then again, of course, we see where it leads to, and maybe the world would have been a better place without the QAnon conspiracy theories and all those things out there. But again, if you ban it right off the get-go, then those people say, hey, you banned us, you censor us. It must be true. So there is no right or wrong, no clear-cut answer. At least I don't have one. But from a communications research point of view, when you look at how societies work, how cultures work, usually simply shutting someone up doesn't really do what you expect it to do. Yes, it will lead to less people listening to him, less people finding him, but it will not lead to his followers suddenly saying, oh, he's not on Twitter anymore, I will stop listening to him. Right? So it's a very hard call to make. I'm glad I'm not Mark, I'm not Jack or any of the others that has to make this call. But I think it's worth having a discussion. And I'm really looking forward to discussing this with my students in class, but also I was about to say I'm looking forward to the comments, but actually knowing the comment section on YouTube and other platforms, I'm not sure anymore. But I think that's a very fascinating thing to see right now, to witness. Maybe, and that's just now in the top of my head, maybe if Trump actually gets impeached again and convicted of whatever, then it could make a good case of saying, okay, you're a convicted you don't get to use Facebook anymore. But again, isn't a human right the right of self-development? Or shouldn't it be? Hard call. So I'm really looking forward to a open-minded discussion here. And from a media point of view, just to also add this, right, it's very interesting. So, of course, Facebook, Twitter, and so on, they do this for several reasons. One, they don't want to have hate speech and so on their platform. That's what they say, and I do believe that's one of the cases. On the other hand, of course, it's also good for them because, of course, now everybody talks about them. People praise them, especially their main target audience, which is said to be rather left-leaning. They praise them. The rather right-leaning target audience, probably not. But even bad news is good news, so everyone talks about them, which is fine, I guess, in regards to getting some PR. I think what's even worse for Facebook, at least right now, and now a smooth transition away from Trump because they talked about him for like 10 minutes, which is, I think, enough. So to move away from this topic to another media topic, Facebook topic, WhatsApp, right? And I think Facebook gets way more bad press right now for updating their privacy regulations in regards to WhatsApp than it gets for banning Trump. For banning Trump, especially mainstream media was praising Facebook, like, yeah, finally, it was about time, 4 years late, and so on. But for WhatsApp, Facebook gets lots of flag right now, and deservedly so. If you don't know, Facebook updated the privacy regulations, saying, and I hope I don't misquote it. Check it out. I will have the link in the description here. Please check it out. The latest Facebook WhatsApp related privacy news. That because WhatsApp is a Facebook company, right? That WhatsApp will share your data with Facebook and hence with third parties that are related, that are working with Facebook. So basically, your private data that you have on WhatsApp will be shared to advertisers and affiliates of Facebook. So now, not and unless you're in the European Union, because the EU prohibits this, as far as I'm concerned. Outside the EU, here in Thailand, for example, but also in the US or wherever you are, this will affect you. And if you don't confirm this pop-up message that comes at you when you're using WhatsApp, you will not be able to keep using WhatsApp from February 13th or whatever, beginning, middle of February onwards. It's interesting to note that even if you don't type yes and you just delete WhatsApp from your phone, for example, they still keep your data and they still pass on this data. So if you don't want this to happen, you really have to delete your account and then you can uninstall it later on. But you really have to actively delete your account, which is a few steps that are supposedly rather confusing because they want to keep you on the platform, obviously. So that's an interesting thing that happened and led to record download numbers for Signal and Telegram a little bit. Even my mom is now on Signal. She didn't want to use Telegram because she said Telegram is that platform that all those crazies, those conspiracy people use. I'm from Germany. My mom lives in Germany, and she said in Germany, like all those people that don't believe in Corona, in the COVID virus, they all use Telegram groups to talk to each other and to organize those anti-COVID marches and stuff like this. And so she's like, all those crazies and Russian spies and Russian bots, they use Telegram. So we don't trust it. So that's why I convinced her to be on Signal. Ever since the Signal guy, sorry for forgetting the name, was on Joe Rogan, I think that also gained even more popularity. So my family is using Signal and or Telegram, depending on who you are asking, but also moving away from WhatsApp. So also curious again, what are your thoughts on this? Cool, not cool? From digital marketing point of view, what I'm also teaching and researching on, I mean, it makes sense, of course, right? If I'm Facebook and I have WhatsApp as a platform, of course I'm going to try to use as much data to cross-match it and enhance, that's what they say, and enhance the experience, enhance the marketing experience, because then you will see more relevant products for you and not random stuff. So actually it's good for you, right? Personalization big topic in digital marketing anyways. So the more data I have, the better I can personalize, the better for you. If you don't give me the data, I cannot personalize it. So then you just get random ads. You get ads anyway, so why not make it personal? Thoughts on this also very much welcome, and of course also going to be discussed in some of my classes. So if you're a student that's coming at you, personally, from a non-digital marketing point of view, and from a European point of view, because I think maybe it's in our DNA that we get taught or we grow up in a more privacy-focused environment. I mean, I told you I'm leaving WhatsApp. I only have to convince my dad to download Signal. Dad, download Signal eventually. Do it. I'm gonna delete WhatsApp within the next 2 weeks. So if you don't download Signal or Telegram, you can't talk to me anymore. So that's my private point of view. Digital marketing point of view, Facebook point of view, I completely understand it. And I would expect, if I'm Facebook, I would expect, yeah, there's going to be a quick outcry. Media or marketing people are going to talk about it. News going to talk about it for a while. Signal, Telegram are going to ride the wave and like, hey, look at them. After 2 weeks, no one's going to talk about it anymore, and you might lose, I know, 1 million users, if at all, and no one else going to care after 2 weeks anymore. I think that's what Facebook is counting on. So that's even a bigger news right now in regards to Facebook than the ban of Donald Trump, I believe. Last thing that I found very interesting, or I shouldn't say last thing. I got told that I always said it in my lectures. I said last thing, and then I keep going for another hour. So another thing that I found very interesting is to see the media coverage, and now going full circle back to where we started, not necessarily of Trump, but generally speaking of politics. And it could be in the US, and I like to take the example of the US simply because A, most people around the world follow it, while not many people follow German politics or Thai politics. For some reason, everyone is into US politics. If I'm going to talk about German or Thai stuff, if there's anyone from the US watching this, going to be lost. So that's why I stick with this. And secondly, it's way safer for me to talk about US politics than it would be to talk about Thai politics, because I rely on my visa here in Thailand. So I rather criticize and talk about US stuff than local stuff. So the coverage, right? It changed so much. Even when you look at like Fox News, who was the hardcore Republican Trump channel, it's still a Republican channel, of course, but they're not riding Trump's coattail that much anymore. Actually, they basically stopped riding with Trump. They're not riding with him anymore, right? They're like, okay, he lost, he's gone. After Pence and even said, okay, yeah, we accept that he's gone and we accept Biden as the next president and so on. Fox is like, yeah, nah, we're out. We're not with Trump anymore. So you can see how fast it changes in the media. Yeah, that's crazy. That happens in other countries as well. So again, I'm just taking this as an example that everyone can follow. And this is something, as a person in media studies that studies those things, that teaches those things, that does research in the area, that really bothers me. But of course, I understand it. We all understand why, right? Because you have your target audience and you see he's a loser. So we're going to have to focus on the next guy in line, the one who stands up to the Democrats now, blah, blah, and so on. All makes sense. Yeah, target audience clicks. That's what you need. And you do what you have to do to get the impressions, clicks, views, and the like. Yes. But where are your standards, your ethics, and so on? That's one thing that I always ask in class. And students go usually roll their eyes like, "Oh no, he's going at the he's coming with the ethics again." But wouldn't we, as an audience, prefer someone who has actually ethics, shows morals, and wouldn't we stick with this person, this channel, even for longer? Wouldn't we support them even more if we would see that they're unbiased and that they're not trying to push an agenda? Because, and it doesn't matter, I just used Fox as an example, but left or right, doesn't matter, right? Agenda setting, like how news outlets are pushing their agendas, becomes more and more obvious. Not only for people in the media industry who study this stuff, But everybody else, we see what Fox is doing. We see what MSNBC, CNN is doing. We see in Thailand what The Nation is doing, Thai newspaper, what Khao Sawat is doing, what Thai Inquirer is doing in Thailand. We see in Germany what the newspaper, you see it everywhere, right? People aren't stupid. So eventually there will be a point, I believe, where more people will say, wait, no, you're trying to convince me of something that I don't stand for. And then we're looking for something unbiased. You can still have your opinions. You might be more conservative. You might be more liberal, but be unbiased. And I think that this is something that people are longing for, even if they don't know it yet. I think this is a program that is in the making, and this program, if it really like takes off and we see it in different countries, that this is a programming style that people will enjoy. So I'm really looking forward to this. Enough of the visual thinking right now. Let's focus on what we have right now, right here. And I think it's enough in regards to talking about politics and Trump and so on. I was about to say my goodbyes and was ready to say no more Trump news, but actually I'm going to upload media related videos every week, and I'm hesitating because I'm quite sure there will be more Trump things to discuss, even once he's gone. So, well, hopefully in the next media analysis, media related video, we won't have to talk about Trump anymore. But if something happens, we of course break it down here. There will be guests also discussing it with me, as mentioned before. But as I mentioned as well, due to COVID, everything had to be postponed a little bit. Setups have to be organized and so on. But we will definitely do this. Also, this channel, as you know, is not only about media, but media updates will happen once a week. I will have other kind of updates happening here as well. Martial arts, for example. Interviews are gonna come again once those setups are done. Even some, and I basically almost don't dare to say this in this serious video, wrestling updates are going to happen because that's the only outlet I have to talk about it. But once per week, we will also have those media posts here. If you are interested in anything that happens and you say, hey, can you explain this? Can you break it down? What are your thoughts? Shout out, shoot a message in the comments or wherever, social media and so on. Links all down below. I'm happy to talk about those things. I hope that resonates somehow because, again, we're stuck at home right now and for the second time. And it's nice to have an outlet to simply discuss those things. All right. So that was a weird first episode, I believe, but yeah, I'm glad it's out of the way. Two brighter and better things from now on, and I can't wait for the troll army that hits me in the comments. All those Trump supporters, stop hating. I did not hate. I just gave my take, and more takes to come. See you next time on the Funkit podcast.